Izuku Midoriya broke nearly every bone in his body during his journey from a quirkless kid to the most powerful hero in the world. But what if he never had to try that hard? In today's video, I'll be exploring an alternate timeline where Deku is reborn with his powers and memories. Our story begins with Deku and Shigaraki breaking out of the coffin in the sky to continue their desperate battle of All for One against One for All. In the original timeline, Deku managed to break through Shigaraki's hate by giving up One for All, and somehow escaped without any lethal injuries. But in this story, he's not so fortunate. Deku fails to land the initial blow, using the spirit of the second wielder, and Shigaraki retaliates, crushing his bones and piercing his internal organs. Not even Eri's rewind is enough to save Deku at this point, and while he wants to fight One, his body completely gives up on him. But the will of the previous wielders isn't so weak that they'd allow him just to die like that. As his consciousness slips away, Deku's soul is thrown back in time, right back to the point where everything starts. It's that night after Deku met a doctor as a child and learned that he was quirkless. But this time, he's not crying at home. He's desperately trying to figure out his next course of action, and if this is a dream or reality. Once Deku's sure that he's not dreaming, he begins working on cultivating his quirk. Think about it. Even by the end of the series, Deku couldn't use One for All at 100% of its output. If he can completely adapt to his quirk by the time he joins UA, Deku knows that he can even surpass All Might by the time they have to face All for One. But Deku also knows that if he exposes his powers, it would completely shatter the carefully balanced world All Might is holding together with his bare hands and a smile. Every morning, Izuku Midoriya wakes up and feels the power of the predecessors inside him, but he still lets the kids call him Deku. He doesn't stop Bakugo or try to change him, because he knows that it's too risky to mess with this timeline. But Izuku still trains every day in secret, so he can build the perfect vessel for One for All. He remembers the training that All Might, Gran Torino, and Aizawa put him through, so Deku slowly but surely acclimates to his power. By the age of 10, he's already running One for All at 25%, while also improving his control over Black Whip and Gear Shift. Middle school comes and goes, and he's right there when it's time for the Sludge Villain incident. He hits the villain at exactly the right joint. He pulls Kachan free. He's gone before the heroes even arrive. Midoriya still runs to rescue Bakugo and deliberately holds back until All Might arrives to save the day. When they talk afterward, All Might offers to make Midoriya his successor, but this is where he reveals that he also possesses One for All. The silence that follows is the longest of Toshinori Yagi's life. He stares at this small, green-haired 14-year-old boy who just looked him in the eyes and named All Might's deepest secret. Nothing makes sense to All Might, but when Deku starts explaining himself, it's clear that he knows way too much for a regular middle school kid. All Might is still suspicious, but nevertheless, he decides to let Midoriya apply for the hero course at UA High. Deku passes the entrance exams and quirk apprehension tests just like he did in the original timeline, but this time, there's no broken arm or finger at the end of each test. Izuku is placed in Class 1A with the same classmates that he had in the original timeline, but he can't tell them the truth just yet. The knowledge he has can be used to stop Shigaraki before he inherits All for One, but if Deku changes too much, the entire timeline will go off the rails. This isn't just a matter of mission failing. He could legitimately lose someone he loves because of a change he didn't understand. But this also means that Midoriya needs to stop All Might from doing something drastic as well. So he lies about his memories. Midoriya tells All Might that he remembers the final battle against All for One, but that he can't remember anything before that. But this means he must hold back a bunch of painful memories. The first incident in the Hero Killer arc, where Deku must intentionally hide the fact that Tenya's brother will be attacked by Stain. If Stain is stopped before the Nomus attack Hosu City, it changes the entire trajectory of Shigaraki's action from there onwards, which is something that Midoriya absolutely can't risk. He faces the same dilemma during the forest training camp, because he absolutely cannot risk making All for One proceed more cautiously. So when can Midoriya actually reveal his true powers? The first opportunity that he can't miss comes during the Shie Hasaikai arc, because that's when he loses Sir Night-Eye. You see, Deku already used One for All at 100%, with Eri healing him in this battle to defeat Overhaul, meaning that it makes no difference to Shigaraki whether he saves Night-Eye in the process. So when Sir Night-Eye tells Deku to escape with Eri, he pulls out all the stops instead and unleashes the full might of One for All, complete with Black Whip, Fajin, and Gear Shift. The Deku that handled Shigaraki with All for One has no trouble taking on the likes of Chisaki, and Night-Eye is saved. But now it's impossible for Deku to hide the truth from All Might and Sir Night-Eye. He sits down with the greatest hero of the modern era and his sidekick to map out a plan to take down the League of Villains before things get out of hand. Here's the other reason why this moment is so crucial. Night-Eye's agency is one of the most sophisticated intelligence networks in Hero Society. His foresight quirk, combined with Izuku's impossible knowledge of the League of Villains' movements and motivations, creates a hero team that already knows what they're going to do. Deku knows about the Paranormal Liberation Front, Gigantomachia, the Meta Liberation Army, and so much more. But most critically, he knows about Tomura Shigaraki. Tenko Shimura was hollowed out by All for One and rebuilt as a weapon. He learned to want the world to fall apart because it was the only way he knew how to exist in it. But somewhere deep inside, that boy who wanted to be a hero was still there. The operation to neutralize the League is all about coordination. If they strike before Shigaraki gets in contact with Gigantomachia or the Meta Liberation Army, the heroes would have an overwhelming advantage. Night Eye's agency begins working in the background immediately, while Hawks is called in to infiltrate the newly formed Paranormal Liberation Front. But the most important thing Deku can reveal at this stage is the location of Dr. Kyudai Garaki. Think about it, if the heroes attack Jaku General Hospital before the high-end Nomus are perfected, it becomes a game changer for the final battle. The strike comes on a Wednesday morning, at exactly the same hour from two directions at once. Endeavor leads the first team into Jaku General Hospital with no warning and no hesitation. Mirko is already in the basement before Garaki can trigger a single Nomu, and Johnny, the small Nomu that served as Garaki's lifeline to the League, is the first thing she crushes with her heel. The second team hits the League of Villains' secret hideout at the same time, with the likes of Best Jeanist and Edgeshot leading the charge. Twice is the most dangerous threat in the building, but Aizawa is right there with the group to make sure he doesn't set off his quirk. Toga puts up more of a fight, and Mr. Compress distracts the heroes while Spinner tries to bolt with Shigaraki, but they don't get far. By the time the dust settles, the League has been neutralized and Shigaraki is under arrest. It seems everything is under control, but All for One would never make things that easy. Thanks to their success, the heroes stop being afraid of All for One, and that's the only mistake that matters. In the meantime, the heroes move to take down the Meta Liberation Army as well, with the pro-heroes launching an attack on the Gunga Mountain Villa. Redestro still causes chaos with his stress quirk, while Genten freezes half the mountain. But this time, the heroes attack at full strength instead of splitting their forces. 116,000 soldiers never get the chance to mobilize. The Hearts and Mind Party is dissolved, and Redestro's corporate empire is frozen by government order. For a few years, the world is at peace, and Class 1A graduates without any major incidents, but they've only managed to set back All for One by a couple years. He has survived All Might, he has survived Tartarus, and he has contingency plans for his contingency plan. The breakout comes fast and surgically, and for the first time, Midoriya has a challenge that he can't face using his memories alone. All for One clears the Bronze Gate and steps into the open air while his allies attack Tartarus from the outside. But there's one factor he could never build a contingency plan for. Izuku Midoriya backed up with the quirks of every previous wielder. Without Deku's interference, All for One would probably have overwhelmed the heroes who rushed to the scene and escaped to build his power. You see, this version of One for All is much stronger than what All Might defeated him with, and All for One was already permanently weakened from the battle at Camino Ward. Deku intercepts All for One shortly after the breakout, and with the help of the other heroes, he defeats and restrains the Demon Lord. All for One's allies who helped him escape prison are restrained, and there's no Shigaraki, Gigantomachia, or Garaki to come and save him. But putting All for One behind bars again doesn't solve all of Deku's problems. The threat of society that produces people like Spinner, or the thousands who follow the Meta Liberation Army doesn't go away just because the worst villain is defeated. Everything is not fine, but everything is not lost either. The war that was supposed to break hero society in half has been averted, and Deku emerges as the new symbol of peace. If you like this theory, make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing My Hero Academia videos.